Welcome to another 21 Hats Dashboard. I'm Lauren Feldman, and I'm here with Lisa Woodruff, who is CEO and founder of Organize 365, which helps busy people get control of their lives. We'll talk more about that. Welcome to the podcast, Lisa.
Thank you so much for having me, Lauren.
My pleasure. So tell me, what does Organize 365 do exactly?
So Organize 365 helps productive women overcome the overwhelm of modern household management so they have more time and capacity to do what they're uniquely created to do. So essentially, we help you set up systems and get your household organized for the phase of life that you're in so that you have more time and capacity.
How did you hit upon this idea for a business?
So it started 14 years ago. At the end of my 30s, I found myself overwhelmed and overweight and depressed and reactive. And I realized that if I was going to live another 40, 50, 60 years, I really needed to stop, take control of my life in every way, in how I was earning money and how I was running my household and how I was parenting. So I quit my day job, which was teaching, and started the company Organize 365. I had no idea how I would monetize it at the time. I just knew I needed to create something online that would be my future revenue.
What gave you the confidence that you were not alone in these struggles? Obviously, you were not, but did you do market research? How did you know that there would be interest in this?
No, Lauren, I was a teacher. I didn't do any of those things. I was a stay-at-home mom with middle school kids who just needed to be there for her kids and provide more money for their education and their medical needs. I'd done a bunch of direct sales, like Mary Kay Tupperware. Think about that.
Interesting. Was that good experience? I bet it was.
Oh, it was great. It was great. I was a leader in Creative Memories for 17 years. I loved it, but the company went bankrupt twice. And so I knew I could sell other people's product. The question was, could I sell my own? And my mother had started a business in our basement when I was in second grade and sold it when we were in eighth. So I knew that you could just start a business from nothing because I had a weird childhood. And so I thought, well, I love to organize, and being organized has helped me make money all this time. I'll build something lasting around organization. I didn't know what it would be. A couple months in, someone said to me, well, you're a professional organizer. I was like, I didn't even know what a professional organizer was. Once I had the words to it, I started doing in-home organizing here in Cincinnati. That's how I started the company.
So it was on a one-to-one basis, kind of a consulting type role.
Yeah, consulting and actually doing the labor. People will pay you to take black trash bags of stuff out of their basement. And so by the end of 3 years, we were doing whole houses in 1 week with the team that I developed, and I started the podcast. And then 3 years later, I stopped doing the in-home organizing and started creating courses based on what I learned being inside of people's homes.
So you stopped carrying the bags out of the basement?
Yes, you have to carry your own bags now.
How quickly did you start hiring people?
At 11 months in, I hired my first 1099 contractor to organize with me. And then the next year I added a couple more. Now, these women would work just, like one job per week. It wasn't like they were working full time.
Right.
And when I transitioned to the online company, courses, and all that, I hired 7 people in 7 weeks at the end of 2017. But every single person worked, 5 to 10 hours, and they were all 1099 contractors. So I essentially hired a whole company like customer service, executive assistant, marketing, all those people, but only a certain number of hours. So they weren't full time.
You hired fractional employees.
Yes, before it was, popular.
Right. So what got you to make the leap from doing the work yourself to building an online company that you would involve teaching the course instead of doing the work?
Okay, so my goal in starting Organize 365 in 2012 was to create an online company because I knew I needed to be available to my kids at that time. And also I wanted to be able to earn an exponential amount of money. I didn't know what that would be, but more than I could earn. Like as a teacher, I earned $500 a week. At the end of my first year, I was making $500 a week. So I'd replaced my teaching salary, but that wasn't how much money we needed. We needed more money than that. And I knew that the amount of money we needed wasn't something I could earn dollar per hour. I was a preschool teacher, for crying out loud. You don't get paid that much. So even professional organizing, we worked up to $75 an hour. I needed even more than that. And so I knew that if I could create something online, I could market my teaching and sell it in packages where I could make more money and there wouldn't be as much overhead. But here's the thing, that 6 years of running the service-based industry gave me all of the money to pay myself and also to fund the growth of the online engine that would become Organize 365. Because creating a website and a podcast and courses and ebooks, and then we got patents and we created physical products and we had to order in inventory for the physical products. Like all that took a lot of cash, and it was the service industry that got me the cash. So when I talk to a lot of people who want to start businesses, I often will say to them, if you look at successful businesses, almost all of them started as a service business. And for most people, starting a solopreneur service business will give you the revenue and the flexibility that you want without the complication of online. Online is really hard. People think it's easy, but it's really much, much harder, I think, than doing a service business.
No argument here.
Yes, as we've discussed.
That's really interesting. What are the products you were referring to? What kind of products do you create?
So along the way in organizing people's homes, I realized there were a few key school supplies or office supplies missing in our houses. And they are the operational system that you run your household on. So Lauren, you're a business owner. I'm a business owner. You could do Traction. You could do, there are all these different programs that you can put into your company and how you can run your company. And then each department of your company, marketing, sales, operations, finance, can go and work with coaches, or they can find other programs and systems and SOPs that you can put inside of your company. We have none of that in households, not a single one. Like if you want to get organized in your household, you go to the Container Store and you buy containers. Or you go to Target and you buy containers, but you don't buy a system. You just buy the decorative things that you're going to put stuff into. And so I realized that every single household manager is cobbling together their operational system on their own from scratch.
Interesting.
So that's what I created. I created a Sunday basket, which is where you put your mail and your actionable ideas, but it's also like the system that you use to plan your week. Just like you would in business, this plans your week. We do a trimester planning with a workbook. It's like your quarterly business planning, only it's for your household. How's your household going to run in the next 4 months? Because households run on trimesters, not in quarters. I created an annual system for organizing your house because there are just certain times of the year where you want to do the garage or want to do the basement, or it's the perfect time to clean out a kitchen, and not every single week is the same. And then we have a system for organizing all the information management, which is filing cabinet papers, but also all the digital papers or the information that's just in your head, and you're the family's Google. Hey, Mom, what do we know about this? Or when does my TSA pre-check expire? These kinds of things that you just ask usually the female head of household, and they just tend to know.
Did you have a model in mind when you did this? Either an entrepreneur or a business that you admired?
There are a couple of businesses that I've looked at over the years. I would say my company specifically looks most like the Dave Ramsey model. So Dave Ramsey started by speaking in churches and teaching the money makeover class. And then he started a radio show, like a podcast, and they produce books, and now he has courses. He has a certification. I have a certification. So that kind of model of having an idea of how you do something in your household, like manage your money, and then teaching people how to do it. His envelope system is very similar to Larry Burkett's. I learned the envelope system from Larry Burkett, but he, turned it much more into a school, and you go and everybody learns how to do the same thing. And he used the radio so effectively to help people understand that he understood where they were and had a system for them to use for their money.
And how did you identify your target audience?
Well, that's funny because I always say it's everyone. And that's not a target, Lauren.
No.
So I flew out and I met with a client this summer, and I don't normally organize in someone's home, but I was organizing in her home. And so I was organizing in her home and I met with her husband. He was very organization resistant. So we sat and talked for 3 hours before we got started to warm him up. And he's a character. So we were talking. I said, well, everybody is my target. He goes, oh, no, I'm not. I'm not your target. I don't even want to do this. She is your target. My wife is your target. And he said, no, most people, Lisa, don't want to do this work. They don't want to learn this much. They don't want to do this much. I was like, oh, he's right. And so I thought about it and I was like, oh, it really is women who are interested in, they're professionally development oriented. They want more time and capacity, and they're willing to put the time in at home to create the system so that they aren't thinking about the system at home while they're doing whatever they're uniquely gifted and created to do, whether that's in corporate or their own business or volunteering or parenting or whatever.
How do you find those people?
They find the podcast, just like I found you on the podcast.
It really, that is the main way.
Yeah. I mean, you're just Googling. So they Google organization. There are not that many podcasts about organization. I wish I knew what I was Googling when I found your podcast. You were maybe your first year in, not even all the way in. And when I found the 21 Hats podcast, I mean, I went back to the beginning, listened to it all. And at the end of 2020, I was so desperate for conversations with other business owners that I went back to the beginning and listened again through the whole thing just to really hear all those business owners processing COVID as it happened in real time. I cannot even tell you how much of a lifeline it was for me.
That's so nice of you to say. I really appreciate that. I, on the other hand, am afraid to go back and listen to those early episodes. Someday, I suppose I will have to do it, but
I'll tell you something about those. When I heard them the first time, I heard fear in the voice of the business owners and that they were like me, just trying to figure it out. And we were all in this together. And when I went back and I listened to it the second time, I realized they were much more positive than I realized. And my fear I had put onto them. So yeah, it is
interesting.
So great to listen to other business owners. The conversations on your podcast are so raw and so real. And the business owners are so open. It is just such a blessing. It's such a blessing.
That's so nice of you to say. I'm curious. Have you monetized your podcast?
No, and I should. So, I could have we have 25 million downloads. Like you for sure can monetize that. The reason I never monetized my podcast was because I was selling a product.
Right.
I've been selling coaching, a physical product. And so you can have a solopreneur podcast. You can have a interview podcast like you do. You can monetize it with ads. You can monetize it like you do with the events that we do together. But because I was selling a product, if I were to run ads, then yes, I could earn money from the ads, but then I'm dividing my audience's attention between what I want to be teaching and, a quick buck, in my opinion.
Well, that makes me feel better because
yeah.
I have tried to monetize mine with mixed results. Occasionally, some good things have happened. So we've been talking a lot about me. That's very generous of you.
I know
appreciate
you don't like that. You don't like that at all.
That's not what we're here for. You have also recently written a book. I'm curious what prompted you to do that. The book is called Escaping Quicksand, 10 Steps to Overcome the Overwhelm of Modern Home Life. What prompted this?
Yeah, so a couple of things. Number one, I'm old. So I'm 54, and I've been in business 14 years. I know. I like to say how old I am, especially for women, because when you're under 40, you just think like no one lives after 40. I don't know what I had in my mind, but I've written quite a few books, and the company is fairly successful, and I've created some good products that I really like selling, and I really like the transformation that the audience has received in going through those programs. But in the book, Escaping Quicksand, I set out to write a book on how to organize your whole house. And first of all, you can't get that in one book. But the book I really wanted to write was, what are the mindset shifts that I made in my 40s that really became the positive, productive, profitable woman you see in her 50s? And yes, I got organized in my 40s, grew the company in my 40s, kids graduated, moved out of the house in my 40s. All those things happen visibly. But what really happens in a productive woman? What are the things that she does mentally that then later become manifest as this positive, productive woman? And these are the 10 steps I came up with.
And your hope is that this will help people, but also drive them to Organize 365?
Yes, I think this is the precursor. This is the step before you even do a Sunday basket. This is I'm drowning in the laundry and the chaos of everyday life, and I cannot see to tomorrow. Every day feels like Groundhog Day. Sure, I could stop and organize my whole house, but how does that even help me? Women who are so depleted and really need to be filled up because they've given all of themselves to everyone that they care for. And they need to learn how to care for themselves, like their parents used to care for them, or maybe they cared for themselves in their early 20s. And along the way, they forgot how. And now society says, well, go take a bubble bath, go have a spa day. And then surely, you'll be all filled up and ready to pour into all of us again. It's more than that. Like, you really need to care for yourself the way that you care for everyone else in order to be available in that role.
Very early in the book, one of the things you do is talk about your own experience in a section. I forget what it's called now. What did you call it? It's
my quicksand story.
My quicksand story.
Yeah.
And it was a point where your father wasn't doing well. I guess he was going to pass away fairly soon, and you were torn between taking care of your kids, trying to help with your father. Was that the low moment that drove all of this that we've been talking about?
So that happened about when I was 36, 37. It was 3 years later when I actually was at my lowest and started Organize 365. But that definitely was the wake-up call. Many people don't have children and don't get married. We don't talk about that a lot. A lot of research focuses on married couples with children. A lot of solutions focus on families that have children that have a lot of this extra work. But the truth of the matter is we all have parents. And we may not have a good relationship with them, and they may have already passed. But when they do pass, it's going to fall on the children to handle that estate and their affairs and take care of them while they're sick until they pass away. And so that's what happened to me in my mid-30s. My parents had gotten divorced when I was 35, and then my father became ill, and my sister and I cared for him, and then he ultimately did pass away. And this is when, we're going through the Great Recession, and my kids are getting diagnosed with every alphabet soup diagnosis that you can get, and the direct sales company I'm with is going bankrupt twice. And I'm just like, how am I supposed to make money and parent and take care of my family and, all of these things? I added it up the other day, and my husband and I are both the oldest children in our family. And we will likely settle 7 estates in our lifetime. And people don't really think about that.
Wow.
Yeah. And no one else is going to do it. Let me just tell you that. like that's going to drop in your lap, and it's going to be something that we are all probably going to do at least once in our life.
So, you talk in that, I guess it's before the book really begins, kind of an introduction. You talk about being overwhelmed and even depressed. Was getting your life organized truly the answer to those problems? Did that do it?
Yes and no. So when you are so overwhelmed, I talk about how from, 35 all the way until 40, I'm kind of sliding down into the pit of the despair, and I get to the bottom and I expect to hit rock bottom. And what actually happens is I hit quicksand and you could go lower. And I'm like, oh no, where is the end of this? Like, how low can you go? And I think at that point, it was the day before winter break. And my administrator held me back. I was in a teaching position to have a meeting with a parent that was not necessary. This parent was, a little overzealous. So we were done with that meeting. And then my administrator said, hey, I need you to stay back an extra minute. I was like, okay. And she said, I don't think you're a very good teacher. And I was 39 and I was teaching Montessori algebra to 16 kids. So I had 16 different lessons. I was teaching it individually. And I was like, well, if this isn't a good teacher, I don't know what is. Now, maybe I wasn't a good teacher. Maybe I was terrible. I don't know. Maybe she was having a bad day. Doesn't matter. I'm driving home. Of course, it's dark. It's raining. It's like a country song. And I'm like, I'm going to quit my job. So Thursday night, I come home. I said to my husband, I'm quitting my job. He goes, fine, whatever. I go upstairs, write the resignation letter, come down, make him read it. He's watching Thursday Night Football. I was like, no, read this. I'm literally quitting my job tomorrow. He's like, whatever, do whatever you want. So I go in the next day and I resign and I come home and he said, well, you better find a direct sales company because you're good at that. Like you can make money doing that. Like my husband has always paid the mortgage and held the health insurance. And I'm just the crazy one running around him. And he gives me enough rope to hang myself if I want. But I thought to myself, if my administrator doesn't value the fact that I'm staying up till midnight and getting up at 5 a.m. so I could do this job in addition to everything else I'm doing, then why am I still doing it? Because I'm not being a good wife, I'm not being a good mother, and I can't even recognize my home.
That's a scary leap to take. A lot of people think about doing that, and then they write the letter, and then they toss it. How were you able to go ahead and actually do it?
Because my husband had a stable job. He's
No.
had the same job since the day he graduated from college. The company's been bought and sold 6 times, and he still works there. He's a cross-country runner. Marry a cross-country runner, I say, because they just keep running. They'll take all of the hits for you. I knew our mortgage was okay. I knew we had health insurance. Like if I held either of those things, I wouldn't have had that liberty. But also, I was not being the mom I wanted to be. And I believe that I would have had lifelong regrets not stepping in and doing what I wanted to do as a mother for these children. They don't have any other mother. They just have me. Whereas another teacher could step in and be the teacher in that school. And so I just made that decision based on that priority. And then I did say to my husband, I was like, okay, I know I need to make money and everything, but I can't recognize this house. So I really need to spend a year getting this home organized. So I did build the company while I did that, but I did prioritize organizing the house and taking my house back and really resetting our house for kids who are middle school age and going into high school, whereas the house had been set up for when I was a stay-at-home mom when they were much younger.
Just give us a sense. It took a year to reorganize?
I know. See, I'm not good at marketing. Because I'm always like, no, it's not like a weekend. Like it's going to take a year to organize your house and a whole summer to do your paper. But this is the truth. Like we are running businesses. Our household is responsible for 68% of US GDP. So household managers are all running businesses. Our households are industry. They are how the world runs. We have
You explained this in a chapter in the book, and I really found that intriguing because I'd never looked at it that way. And you even compare it to the E-Myth, which people talk about all the time in terms of you don't want to just work in the business. You want to work on the business. You do the same analogy for your household.
Absolutely. You would never go into a business and you would say, okay, well, we want to make this profitable and we're going to do it in a weekend. No, you would make a plan and you'd be like, okay, first we have to fix marketing and then that's going to lead to sales. Let's fix sales. Okay, now we have sales. Now we need to fix operations. Okay, now that we have money, let's talk about the finance department. And you would set out a 1, 3, or 5-year plan. Well, that's the same in your household. Like you cannot just get this done in a weekend. You have a lot of roles and responsibilities in your household that you've just been doing on autopilot because, I don't know, that's how your parents did it. You thought you saw it on TV one day. Like you don't even have a reason why you do it. You haven't thought about it. You need to think about the roles in your household that you play, how you do them, what you want the outcome to be, what resources you have to bring to bear, what you want the long range plan to be. So yeah, it's a lifelong endeavor, but you can get it going pretty quickly within 6 weeks. And then the whole house usually takes about a year to 18 months.
Part of it is, just as in a business, creating systems. Can you give us an example of the kind of household systems you suggest?
Yeah. So as far as the systems of running the household, you definitely need to do weekly planning. You do weekly planning in your business. You need to do weekly planning in your household. Make sure the bills are paid. Check your calendar.
People do weekly planning in their business?
You know, they should. We can talk about that. But I like to, even on Sunday, like if I know that I'm going to go to Pilates on Wednesday, I put my gym bag in the car. Like if I have to go to the library on Tuesday, return something, it's in the car on Sunday. Like I don't put these things in every day. I just load up the car. I call my car trunk my car closet, and I just pack it up for the week. Anything that doesn't need to be refrigerated is already in the car, so I don't have to think about it. I make as many decisions during the week as I can. That's my Sunday basket time. And then our households actually run on trimesters, and it's because we're used to the American school system. So all of us are expecting something new like in September, and we go all the way until December. We start over again in January and we go to April. And then we start to plan our summer in May and we go all the way through August. And those 120 days, those 4 months are nice big chunks of time where we can look at that and see, okay, what holidays, what birthdays, what vacations, what household projects do we want to work on? Make a plan, get those done, and then go to the next trimester and the next trimester. And I do that in a 2-day live planning event.
You know, I asked you before about your target market, and you gave the funny anecdote with the husband and wife and realizing that it was the woman who was your target. Your book is clearly written for women as well. But, you know, listening to you in this day and age, I got to believe that there's some men who are finding value in this. Are you seeing that?
Absolutely. And they're definitely, you know, I'm just about done with my PhD. So I've done a lot of research on academia and how we're dividing housework and all of that in the academic literature. The academic literature right now is only looking at 17.9% of the population because they're only looking at men and women who have children under the age of 18. And over 80% of us don't fit in that demographic anymore. And so absolutely, men are running households for sure. However, men kind of approach the job differently than women do. Men and women just kind of approach things differently. And I don't have enough lived experience or research or experience working with men running households to know how that's different. I just know that it is different.
Interesting. When you figure that out, I'll be eager to hear more.
Okay. It could take me a while, but I'm going to work till I'm 80. So, I'll let you know.
Excellent. I'm curious, is AI having any impact on any aspect of this? How you run your business or how you organize your household? How are you thinking about AI?
I'm so glad you asked this question. I listen to you talk about this on the podcast all the time. I did a podcast episode where I said AI is making my house dumb because I can't get any of the machines to do what they're supposed to do through the apps or the buttons. And then I asked my audience and they said, yeah, we just don't download those apps. I was like, oh, okay. Like my robot, Elon, if you could please help us. My robot cannot vacuum the first floor of my house without going home to recharge itself, and then it forgets what it was doing and it never comes back out again. Why? How is this? I don't even have a big house. So then I forget, it forgets. So only half of the downstairs is vacuumed. It can get to 3 out of the 4 spaces. So then I program it to do a different 3 out of the 4 every time so that I get it kind of clean. Like, I don't think AI is not helping me. And we are the last place that AI is really looking. Now, I don't do the grocery shopping or the cooking. If you do, I know that AI is really helpful in that, and the grocery list and all that. And I guess they're going to have this robot that's going to fold your laundry. I don't know if it's as good as the ones we already have. Don't waste your money. It's not going to do the strategic work we need to be doing.
What about running your business? Do you find anything helping you be more efficient through AI?
No. But we haven't really looked very hard. So I listened to you talking about it and I'm like, well, I'm getting a PhD right now. So it's 25 hours a week. And I keep saying, as soon as this is done, I need to take some of this time and figure out this AI. But what I'm finding with AI is that it's like a deluxe Google at this point. It's not really replacing anything inside of my company. And the few people who have started using it inside of my company and they're not inside of my company, but contractors that used to be inside of my company or outside contractors that give me information they've done through AI. You could tell it's done through AI and it doesn't make any sense. So it's not really to the point where I can use it. I'm still writing everything from scratch and being a human right now.
Well, good for you. I admire that and try to stick to that myself. I will tell you, as much as I hate to admit it, since I've spent most of my career as a writer or an editor, I do think it has made me better at both. And because of the way I use it, I mean, I never just turn to it and say, write this or edit this and then run with whatever I get. But using it as a sounding board, I've found it to be really effective to improve what I've written. And, I pick my spots and I reject a lot, but oftentimes, like if it's something I've written up, there's a word choice that I just ran out of energy on. I knew it wasn't as good as it should be and I didn't find the right word, but I went with it. And AI sometimes finds the right word or finds a better angle for something or a more logical flow structure to whatever I've written. So for what it's worth.
Yeah, I know it's something I need to press into. And I did, I use Gemini because it's part of Gmail. And also you can talk to it and it'll talk back to you. And I, would rather not type. So one day I just walked around my house talking to Gemini all day long. I was like, okay, let me tell you more. And I just told it all about my business, all about me, all about my goals, all these things. And then had it keep telling me, so what did you hear? And it's like, oh, okay. And it would talk back to me. And now it kind of has that in its little brain, I guess.
Have you asked it for suggestions based on what it heard from you?
I asked it to give me a summary and I didn't think it was very good. And I was like, okay, I missed some of the key points. I'll have to come back to this later.
Interesting. So I asked you about your focus on women in the business and the book. I'm curious, to what extent do you view the experience of being a business owner as different for a woman than for a man?
Oh, thank you for this question. I think that all women who are running businesses are running two businesses. And this is key. And I remember when I was in direct sales, really realizing that if I could get a woman to get organized at home and organize her housework, she was a better person in direct sales, because what would happen is she would start to do a direct sales party, but something wouldn't be done at home. And then her spouse would say, you've got to quit doing that direct sales thing because you haven't done your work at home. That's, this is 20 years ago. And there's so much truth to that. Women who run businesses, especially if they are entrepreneurs and are growing something from scratch like I did, you're also growing something from scratch at home. And you can't not do that. And of course, my spouse is very supportive and he does more than half of the housework, but I still do the invisible mental load. I'm still doing all the calendaring and the doctor appointments and the stuff with the grandchildren and all of that. So women really do run two businesses if they are running a business outside of the household.
Almost invariably in your experience. And what does that mean for them as business owners? What does that force them to do?
So for me, the very first hire I ever made in my business was someone to clean my house, which seems counterintuitive. And no, I couldn't write it off on my taxes, but that money that I spent every other week on getting my house cleaned saved me 6 hours a week. So I don't know how the math works, but it takes me 6 hours a week to clean my house. But somebody else can come in and do it in 3 hours every 2 weeks. And I know that because I used to clean people's houses. So I know how to clean houses. But when I clean mine, I'm also picking up and doing laundry and I don't know, all this other stuff. So that gave me anywhere from 3 to 6 hours per week to devote to my business, because I wasn't cleaning my house. Because you have to replace yourself at home also in order to get more time at work. My second hire is always an executive assistant or virtual assistant in the business, so that as you come up with anything that's repetitive that needs to be done more than once, you could train somebody else to do that in the business. So now you've got someone at home that's doing the cleaning, which anybody can do, and someone in the business where you are, as soon as you can offload, you're training things, you're giving things over to that executive assistant. And that executive assistant is really, 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 really important for women, because I've always started with 5 hours a week. When you know you're going to pay someone 5 hours a week, you have to give them 5 hours of work. So it makes you look at what you're doing and figure out what don't you need to be doing and what can you train somebody else to do. And then as that time becomes open, then you must go deeper into your uniqueness and grow your business to support that other person's income and grow the business. So I think it's really, really critical, those two hires.
That sounds like good advice to me for anybody, women or otherwise. I've often thought about hiring an executive assistant, and I really worry about figuring out what I would do to keep them busy. And that's one of the things that's kept me from doing it. Lisa Woodruff is CEO and founder of Organize 365. Her book is called Escaping Quicksand, 10 Steps to Overcome the Overwhelm of Modern Home Life. Oh, the book is going to be available in June, right?
June 23rd. It's available on pre-order now anywhere books are sold. And we're doing a live book club inside of my app. And I'm dropping an audio chapter every week while we're waiting for the release.
And if somebody wants to find that app, they go to Organize 365.
Yep.
Lisa, thank you for taking the time.
Thank you so much. This was a pleasure.
My pleasure. And thanks for listening, everybody.